Shading brings more contrast and makes your miniature more refined. But what exactly is shading? How do you shade your miniatures properly and what are the different approaches to it? Well, let's find out. By the way, I can see that many of you are not subscribed yet, so if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. It's absolutely free and you can always change your mind later. Alright, so what is shading? In the traditional sense, when you are shading a miniature, you are using a wash. Wash is basically a paint that has a lot of medium and or water in it. Because of this, the paint has low surface adhesion and is able to flow into recesses. Whenever you are using washes like this, it's necessary for them to fully dry before you go on and put something over them. Just like you do when working with glazes or layers. If you interfere with drying paint now, you will rub it off and create a mess. And we don't really want that now, do we? Furthermore, there are two ways that you can apply your wash. Either you can go for all over wash, or you do recess shading. Let's talk about all over wash first. This method is fairly simple. You just take your wash and apply it over the entirety of your miniature or a certain part of it. This works especially well when done on a miniature that has a lot of texture on it. For example, using it on something like fur works the best, since it will go straight into those little gaps. On the other hand, I wouldn't recommend using this for huge panels such as power armor or tanks. If you do, you will end up with a spillover or coffee stains, which have to be fixed with another layer. So to avoid that, we have multiple options. First one is to use recess shading. This means taking your wash and applying it just into recesses instead of the entire miniature. That way you avoid excessive spillover or coffee staining around it. To make the wash go into recesses even easier, you might consider spraying your miniature with a gloss varnish. This decreases the surface tension even more and lets your paint flow even more smoothly. Some other ways to make your wash stack in the recesses are adding water, adding medium, using gloss wash instead, and basically anything that decreases the amount of pigment in the mix. So those are two very basic ways that you can use a wash for shading. But let me tell you a secret. Maybe, just maybe, you don't have to buy a dedicated wash paint. There, I freaking said it. You see, every paint is just pigment, medium and water for the most part, and washes have less pigment and more of the latter. So if you take regular paint, add more water and or medium, you will get a wash anyway. As I paint more and more, I find myself using pre-mixed wash products less and less. But of course, these are still useful when you are batch painting, for example. So what are different approaches to shading? Well, there is another technique that is kinda similar to recess shading, and that is blacklining. Blacklining is the polar opposite of edge highlighting, as you get darker paint into every recess. And of course, that color doesn't have to be necessarily black. This makes the miniature very clean and readable in the end. It is not necessary to do this for the entirety of the miniature, but I think it will make it look way better if you do. Simply get any dark paint and carefully apply it just in the recesses. But this time, you should avoid any spillover. Recess shading and blacklining are very similar. When you are recess shading, you are using a wash. But when you are blacklining, you can use regular paint consistency and you have to be way more accurate. Another way to achieve the same effect is to use enamel/oil wash. These washes have a unique property that allows them to spread out along the recess while not leaving any significant spillover. Either use premixed enamel wash or mix your own oil paint with a white spirit to make a wash. When I use these, I spray the miniature with a gloss varnish beforehand, because if you don't do that, acrylic paint underneath can kinda soak the oil wash and it doesn't look very good. Also, if you do end up with minor spillover, you can simply take white spirit, reactivate the paint and wipe it off. So it is really quick and forgiving way to shade recesses of your miniatures without major spillover. A different tool that I discovered are these Pigma Micron pans. I assume that most of you are used to holding a pan. I know, bold assumption. And because of that, using these is very easy. Simply take them, press them down to the recess, and voila! It is really simple, really precise, so you won't have to fix anything afterwards. I also think these will help so many of you guys, since I see so many posts like these. Seriously guys, what the f***? However, since these markers cannot get everywhere, you might still wanna use brush for some recesses, just like these ones. Now I wanna talk a little bit about why you can paint without using a wash at all. You see, using a wash makes sense when you are either speed painting or the miniature has a lot of texture. But all over washes are definitely not necessary for other stuff. For example, if you wanna shade a piece of cloth, you can simply glaze darker color into the recess in a very controlled manner. Or you can put there a darker layer and glaze over the transition. You don't really have to use a wash for that. This is actually the same approach that I have used to shade a Sister of Battle miniature from from my previous video, so check it out if you want. Furthermore, you don't have to shade your miniature at all. You can simply start with a really dark base coat and build all the volume from there. Now I wanna thank Shoot Wolf Miniatures for sponsoring this video. The ogre miniature that I have painted is from their Kickstarter campaign called Imperium Immortalis. If you are looking for miniatures with World War gas mask aesthetic, this is definitely something you should check out. I mean, look! They have freaking gas mask horses! There is a link in the description, so if you're interested, just go there. Now of course, if you like this video and you wanna see more, definitely subscribe to my channel, and if you want to help others get better at painting miniatures, give this video a thumbs up so that way YouTube gods will know that they should take this video and recommend it to them. And as always, see you in the next one. Bye!